Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Hare Krishna. I've been asked to speak some words in Hindi. ऐसा है हमारे बीच कोई जो खाली हिंदी समझते और अंग्रेजी नहीं समझते, ऐसा अगर कोई व्यक्ति उपस्थित है जरा सा आपका हाथ उठाइए। आपको अंग्रेजी नहीं आते बिल्कुल, but I think there are more people who around the other way, they know English but not Hindi. लगते और बहुत लोग हैं जो अंग्रेजी समझते लेकिन हिंदी नहीं समझते. For this reason, I'll speak in English, and I just did a little exhibition that I can speak in Hindi for all of those who will be satisfied by hearing that. But anyway, our topic is Krishna. Today you have all come here. Why have you come here? Because today is Janmashtami. Today is the celebration of Krishna's birth or appearance in this world. That was approximately 5,000 years ago. From Bhagavad Gita, the famous words spoken by Krishna, we understand that Krishna is never born. He is described as Aja, or he who has no birth. He only appears to be born in this world. But that appearance or that birth is so important that here, after more than 5,000 years, still all over the world, so many celebrations of Krishna's birthday are taking place. Of course, in India this is a very big festival, but now in England, America, Australia, Russia, Japan, China, so many places people are celebrating Sri Krishna Janmashtami, and actually not only on this planet but on other planets also, because Krishna is Jagannath, he is Lord of the universe. Young Brahma, Varunendra, Rudra, what is that? Yeah, Young Brahma, Varunendra, Rudra, Maruta, Stunvanti Divyai Savai, all the great demigods in the higher planets, they all praise Krishna with divine hymns. So Krishna is obviously very important. There's no one else that we know of except those persons who are connected with Krishna, whose birthdays are still being celebrated after 5,000 years. Who are the important people in the world today? Well, obviously the names of George Bush, George Bush. Well, I mean, materially they are important. We're talking here in material terms. George Bush is important. Gordon Brown, yeah, he's important. No, his name comes in the newspaper every day. He must be an important fellow. And Bill Gates is important. Who else? Dalai Lama is a world famous figure. Probably the sports stars in the Olympics, some of them are quite important, considered such at the present time. In the 20th century, Einstein was important, Hitler was important, Stalin was important, Churchill was important, Gandhi was important. I mean, there's probably a few Gandhis here, but we're talking about Mohandas Gandhi of Porbandar in Gujarat. That particular Gandhi. So these are all important people. Mahatma Gandhi's birthday is still celebrated in India, at least as a formal function. But we can't imagine that in 5,000 years there'll be a celebration for Bill Gates' birthday, or a celebration for George Bush's birthday. In fact, when some of these people die, some people might celebrate it. But even if they celebrate their birth, we can't imagine that after 5,000 years it would still be celebrated. We can't even imagine what anything would be like in 5,000 years. We can hardly project what life will be like even in a few years. There are so many predictions, usually of disaster, ecological disaster, economic, social problems. Before in the late 1990s, there were so many predictions of global disaster. At the striking of the midnight clock on January the 31st, 1999, they were convinced that the year 2000 will bring in disaster. So their predictions were wrong. I mean, life in the material world is a disaster at every moment, but it wasn't any particular disaster any more than usual. So, we're not very expert at predicting what will happen, even a few years or even a few days in advance. Just like the English weather, it's very difficult to predict. We can't say what it's going to be. So we can't imagine what it will be like in 5,000 years. But one thing I can tell you for sure. In 5,000 years, there'll still be Janmashtami celebrations going on. And Bill Gates, here's something else I can tell you. Bill Gates will be absolutely forgotten. And so will all the Olympic stars, and so will all the film stars, and so will everyone else in this world who's in this world at this time, except Prabhupada, who preached about Krishna. So Krishna is most important. Why will people still be celebrating Krishna's appearance in this world, and they will have completely forgotten anyone else of the world at this time, including Saddam Hussein, he's already forgotten. This Bin Laden, he'll also be forgotten. They'll all be forgotten. Even their name, there won't even be history books describing them. Why will Krishna be remembered? Not only remembered, but glorified. Because Krishna is important. And anyone else who attains any importance, that's only temporary and not very important importance. But Krishna is always important because He is the life of all that lives. Where does Bill Gates' money come from? Where does George Bush's power come from? Bill Gates is a self-made man. And George Bush was voted by the electorate in America. Although actually he didn't really win it, but anyway, somehow or other he got in there. So, that's the normal way of looking at it, but actually, all the money of Bill Gates or whoever else may be rich in the world, it actually comes from Krishna. And how does George Bush or Gordon Brown or whoever it may be, Manmohan Singh, how did they get their position? Ultimately, everything is awarded by Krishna. And whatever money Bill Gates or anyone else in the world may have is completely insignificant in relation to the opulence of Krishna. And whatever wealth a rich person may have, they have it for a very short time, and when they die, they don't bring even a penny with them. Cannot. They might even be a beggar in their next life. Or whatever a very powerful person, whatever power they have, if that's not terminated within this lifetime, it will certainly be terminated at death. And their power is actually very little. But Krishna, his power is eternal and unlimited. Whatever power anyone has in this world is only a tiny, 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 tiny fraction of the absolute power that belongs to Krishna. It's all Krishna's. So all opulences are with Krishna, and therefore he's important. But there's another even more important reason why we're celebrating Janmashtami. Because we like Krishna, we love Krishna. Krishna's not just powerful and wealthy and famous and he's not just a big shot who's caught up in his own self-importance. He's not like that. Krishna is most sweet and kind and loving. Krishna, he has so much power and wealth and fame. But most important is that he loves everyone and he reciprocates with the love of his devotees. So bhakti or devotion to Krishna, it is not simply a matter of appreciating that God is very powerful. That's a beginning. It's good to appreciate that there is God and He is powerful and that we are subordinate to Him. That's a good start. But that does not constitute the essence of bhakti. Bhakti is translated as devotion. Srila Prabhupada usually translated it as devotional service. But true bhakti is or begins when one loves Krishna, not simply because he is great and powerful and famous. Actually, that doesn't constitute love. Usually people become attracted to rich, powerful, famous people either because they want to get something from them, or they want to emulate them, or they want to take over their position. So none of these motives are loving motives. But when one appreciates that Krishna is the natural abode of all wealth, strength, knowledge, beauty, what are they? Aishvaryasya, all opulence, samagrasya, viryasya, all power, yashasa, all fame, shriya, all beauty, jnana, all knowledge, vairagya, he's the abode, renunciation. Krishna is the abode of all opulences, all attributes, unlimitedly. There is no limit to Krishna's opulence. There is no limit to Krishna's power. There is no limit to Krishna's fame or his beauty or his knowledge or his renunciation. So appreciating that Krishna is all opulent and without any motive to try to get anything from Krishna, but being simply satisfied to serve him and to love him for his divine qualities, for his being so great yet being so accessible to us. That desire to serve Krishna and relate with him in loving service, that is bhakti. So the essence of bhakti is not simply to think, oh, Krishna is so great, or God is so great, therefore I have to obey him, otherwise he'll throw me into hell forever. That's not bhakti. Or I will worship him and he will give me a nice spot in heaven where I can enjoy myself forever. That's not bhakti. Bhakti means the desire to serve Krishna and not even on the highest level, not even asking for anything back, because anyway we know that Krishna, he's not an ingrate. He won't deprive us of any happiness. But even if he does, the pure devotees think, let us serve Krishna. Let us try to act in a way that he will be happy. Our only desire is not to get anything from him, but to see how he is happy. So it is this bhakti, this transcendental spirit of selfless service to Krishna, the all-attractive personality of Godhead, that is the most attractive feature of Krishna, approaching Krishna. And many devotees come to the world and exhibit this bhakti and show others how wonderful is this bhakti. What are we missing by not serving Krishna? If we're simply chasing after money, power, wealth, what are we missing? These things, even if we get, they're very difficult to get, and even if we get them, they don't satisfy us, and even if we do get them, we can't keep money, power, wealth, beauty. But if we serve Krishna with love, that fully satisfies us, and that love of Krishna is never lost. We have to die and everything is lost, but love of Krishna is never lost. That carried on to our next birth, or if we're perfect in love of Krishna, then we don't take birth again in this material world. We go to Krishna, to the abode of Krishna, to serve Krishna eternally. So this spirit of bhakti is exhibited in the world by great devotees. Most recently, the greatest devotee of the modern time who established this temple here and many other temples all over the world is, of course, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is proof of the existence of God. What is proof of the existence of God? Well, there are many proofs, if you want to say proof, but one is Srila Prabhupada, because, well, either Srila Prabhupada was completely bewildered and illusioned and was talking rubbish, or he wasn't. Either his devotion to Krishna was real, or it wasn't. So we can choose to dismiss great devotees as Srila Prabhupada as being simply in delusion. There's a book, The God Delusion. So some people think that it's just a big delusion. But for persons who are even a little bit spiritually sensitive, they can understand that life does not finish when the body dies, and there is God, and there is transcendental experience, and there is love beyond that of this mundane platform of simply, I rub your back and you rub mine. There is God, there is love of God. And Srila Prabhupada's very existence, how he lived in love of Krishna and imparted that to others and filled up empty lives with love of Krishna, that in itself is proof of love of God for those who are sensitive enough to appreciate it. So bhakti, that is life, that is real, devotion to Krishna. That spirit is of pure devotion to Krishna is infused generation after generation within this world by great devotees of Krishna who repeatedly point us, the bewildered souls, illusioned souls, materialistic souls, keep on pointing us to Krishna. Here is Krishna. Here is our real goal of life. That which cannot be attained by endeavoring hard, getting college degrees and a big position and a nice house and a car and everything else that people aspire for in this world. Everything else, that which cannot be achieved by any material endeavor, however difficult it is to attain, that can very easily be attained simply by chanting the names of Krishna, by offering a flower to Krishna. with love, saying, Krishna, you please accept this flower. Someone who does this may not be very famous or wealthy or learned, but by doing so they please Krishna, which is a far greater success of life than any 10 million Bill Gates and George Bushes put together could even imagine. This bhakti, this is the real wealth, the real meaning of life. It carries us beyond birth and death to the spiritual world of Krishna. And this is why Krishna, his worship will go on, because it is real. It is not simply a myth. It is not a fantasy. It is not a delusion. It is reality. It is more real than conquering kingdoms and building up business empires. It's more real even than ecology and vegetarianism, which are all very good, but they don't constitute the essence of life. So Krishna is the Vastava Vastu in the language of the Shastra. He is the really real thing. Everything else is temporary, and without relation to Krishna, everything is meaningless. Every one of us has our eternal relationship with Krishna. Forgetting that, we are suffering birth after birth in this material world. Remembering Krishna, we become satisfied in a way that is not possible. Being satisfied with having a bank balance and a house and everything else one might aspire for in this world, that cannot satisfy us even slightly in the same way the satisfaction and the bliss one derives from serving Krishna. So this Janmashtami celebration will go on eternally, because Krishna is eternal and devotion to Krishna is eternal. Krishna is important. Devotion to Krishna is the only important, the really important thing to do in this world. Everything else that goes on, of course people have to eat and sleep and clothe themselves, and all these functions go on, but the essence of life is to serve Krishna, remember Krishna, love Krishna, chant Krishna's names, hear about Krishna. And this festival, Janmashtami, provides a special opportunity to do that. But actually remembrance of Krishna should go on daily, not once a year or on a few festivals. Everyone is coming here and appreciating the spirit of bhakti, is it not? You're all coming here appreciating the spirit of bhakti. You're feeling very happy here? Would you like to be transferred immediately to your office and shop and with all the headaches on your head? Would you like to? Tuesday morning, everyone's back, right? Back to the daily grind. Monday there's a little respite, bank holiday. So, who would like to go on with Janmashtami for another day, or 2 days, or 3 days, or 4 days, or 5 days? Who would like that? Well, the reality for most people is back to work. But we can keep the spirit of Janmashtami alive in our lives by every day in our homes worshipping Krishna. It doesn't have to be on a grand scale as it is here, and that's not possible for everyone. But we can worship Krishna and sing songs to Krishna and offer Him food and flowers and dedicate our lives to Krishna in our home life. That is the perfection of life. It doesn't, if one is a sannyasi, then he can all the time. We can all the time, we can live in the ashram and dedicate ourselves fully, but we can start to do that in home life also. By morning and evening, chanting the names of Krishna, offering all our food to Krishna, and sincerely inquiring from devotees. We can come at least once a week to this temple of Krishna and inquire from devotees about the methods to fully spiritualize our lives, to bring Krishna fully into our lives. So that is the best gift we can get from this Janmashtami celebration. There are many items. We can purchase prasadam, we can purchase books and statuettes, but if coming here we feel the inspiration that I should be experiencing this all the time, well, we can. And we can take the direction, easy steps, how to advance toward Krishna and be fully Krishna conscious even in our householder life. In this regard, I've compiled one book called A Beginner's Guide to Krishna Consciousness, which explains all the basic practices of how to practice Krishna consciousness in your home life. So if anyone would like to get a copy of that book, it's available here in English, Hindi, Gujarati and Russian. So if anyone would like to get a copy, there's a questions and answers booth just 2 minutes walk out here, and you can collect it from me, and we'll finish